Good morning and welcome to a lovely morning here in South Africa. We are looking towards Kruger National Park, which is sort of the bigger area that we are part of. And fantastic elephant to start with. I'm not going to be talking too much. Just want to say welcome to the vehicle. My name is Peter Pretorius, and VM, nice to have you on the camera. And what a lovely day. It's nice and cool. As you can see, we're actually wearing jackets, which 4 or 5 days ago would have been unimaginable because we had a heat wave here not so long ago. We were looking at 105, 107 Fahrenheit on some of those days, but this is very pleasant. Probably going to get into the 20s, higher 20s maybe today, Celsius, so 85 or something like that in Fahrenheit later on. But for the moment, nice and cool, and the sun is just about, in fact I'm going to try and show you just now. I'm going to get past these elephants a little bit. But the sun is just rising as we speak, and we're going to have a beautiful day. Lots of activity last night, beautiful leopard with Hayden. We had the wild dogs that were fantastic as well, so lots to look forward to, and also it's a new day, so lots of things can happen. Better position. It's a little breeding group, although I can see a few of them further into the bush as well, so maybe 15 or 20 elephants, something like that. There you can just see the sun sort of through the, you could almost call it a fog layer, but the cloud layer on the eastern horizon there. Oh, that's beautiful. Elephants, sunrise. The bush around us is also really alive. You can hear all the bird sounds. Franklin's calling. They're a little bit like sort of pheasants or grouse. Magpie, shrike that you can hear calling as well. Drongos, all the smaller birds. And then of course these amazing mammals. Biggest animals on land. Oh, what she's doing there, she's pulling out, looks like the base of a little shrub that had been broken off before, but she's pulling out the root. There you can see it. Awesome. Breakfast. Amazing how they use those trunks. Very dexterous, can turn and twist it in any direction. Those two sort of fingertips at the tip of the trunk. Interesting what's happening there. You see the young one coming up next to mum. Most likely it's mother, although not necessarily. They're very close within the group. But just having a sniff at that root. Maybe a small practice also. You can see her trying to use the foot. This is how we learn. Young ones from the older ones. And then suddenly one day when you're a grown up, you know which roots are the best to eat. Where do you find the good water? What? That was awesome. Mum was basically saying something like, "You're welcome to learn what I'm doing, but you're not allowed to eat my breakfast." Also a new week for us, so in terms of the human calendar. Many things happening today. We're going to be doing another rehearsal a little bit later this morning. We'll remind you of it again closer to the time. But why I'm mentioning that is tomorrow and Wednesday mornings for our sunrise drives, sunrise safaris, we're going to be doing 2 shows to television for Nat Geo Wild. So looking forward to having you along for that drive. We're going to have many other people joining us as well. So We need experienced guests on the vehicle to help us along. If in any way you can make it the next 2 mornings, our time, evening time for many of you, it'll always be great to have you on drive. Move a little bit. I'd love to get one view with those elephants and the amazing sunrise we've got going there behind them. We're up on one of the clearing areas here on one of the higher sort of parts of Djuma Game Reserve. Djuma and Aratuza Game Reserves are the 2 private reserves within Sabi Strand that we drive around on. And it's just fantastic to have a horizon line in the distance. A lot of the area around here, we've got quite thick bush. So what we call bushveld is one of the terms they refer to this area as. And in bushveld, like what we have now, you often have a lot of bush around you, so you don't always get to see much of the horizon. Yeah, no, that was quite funny. June, you're just mentioning there, June and Jean, I think 2 comments there about how funny that baby elephant was. I especially enjoyed the part where Mum took back the piece of root. Told the youngster, hey, it's my food. No, elephants feed many hours a day, 16, 18 hours a day easily. But that's not feeding as in eating the whole time. I mean, obviously that's the sort of the activity of feeding. In other words, moving around, getting some water, getting some food, teaching the young ones a few lessons, the young ones learning a few lessons from the adults, you know, all the activity of day-to-day life. Oh, here's one coming closer to us. Awesome. This is one of the younger females, mature female, adult female. I remember, actually, if you look at her ear just there, you can see it's an old hole that tore open. So, oh, look at that. Sunrise in the back. Beautiful. Yeah. Welcome to Africa, everyone. She's having a little look at us as well, just coming closer where she's eating. Quite often that's a combination of the requirement for food, but the sort of placement of where to find it influenced by wanting to have a look at us. So still all these beautiful bird calls. One of my favorite calls is that in the background, some young ones as well. It's a graded bushrike that you can hear in the distance. That's a francolin. They're probably about a 7-year-old, 6-year-old elephant now. Looks like a young bull. You can see that the whole sort of animal starting to get the mature elephant shape. Just look at that. Beautiful place. We're going to be driving around the sort of general area. These elephants are going into thicker stuff now, so we're going to leave them for a little bit. Also because early morning like this, there's still a good chance of finding various cats and things like that. They're quite active early morning, so I think we're going to go look around a little bit. And James is also looking around. He might find something anytime. The guys on the walk are out as well, so make the most of this early time and find things. We're going to try and catch up with these elephants later again. Once they've moved through this big area in the back, or the thick area in the back, then there's a good chance that we'll find them again a little bit later on in the morning. But I think we're going to move on. As I mentioned, one of the beautiful things about early morning is that you have all the activity. Oh, thought I saw something there. you have all the activity from the night before. Many things have been active, doing their thing at night. Of course, a lot of the predators around here are nocturnal, so they hunt at night, and they're also very active this early part of the morning. So it's a fantastic time for finding tracks, for finding signs, the newspaper if you want, of the bush. Having said that, James is busy reading something, so he's going to show you what that's about. We're going to look around and see you back here in a bit.
Good morning everyone, and as Peter has welcomed you, so do I. My name is James Hendry. On camera today we have Brian, who is trussed up like the abominable snowman. He's got a sort of pale beige blanket on him. It's been a chilly morning, which is something of a relief after the massive heat that we've had for the last little while. There is the sun, beautifully come up over the horizon, and we are following up here on the tracks of what we think are the mating pair of leopards from yesterday. Tingana, 9-year-old male leopard, and Karula, the 11-year-old female. And the tracks have actually stopped as you came to us. They've stopped on the road here, and so it's good for us just to have a little listen to see if they are still around here and perhaps mating. So I think they've headed in here. I hope they have, because behind us is Simbambili, of course, and we can't go in there. Right, so we're going to listen for exactly 15 seconds, and then we'll carry on probably around like that. Now what is interesting is that we are in the middle of shadows territory, and I'll explain what that means just now. So I can't hear anything in the way of mating leopards. That would sound like a very angry dogfight, brief but angry dogfight. Leopards tend to be fairly aggressive with each other when they mate, and I certainly can't hear any of that, but I can hear the magnificence of the dawn chorus. Beautiful francolins calling, some drongos, doves. Orange-breasted bushshrikes, various other birds. It's very beautiful. And like I said, crested francolins. Okay, what we're going to do is just gently move up the road here. We'll cut across and just see if we can't pick the tracks up. I don't think these tracks are from very early this morning. I know that the leopards came onto this road late yesterday evening, and so we're not far from where they were last seen. So I think they're probably not necessarily very close to where we are now. Now there are two interesting issues, and I'm going to tell you about them while I drive. I'll not waste time. The first, of course, is that we are basically on the boundary between Karula's territory and her daughter Shadow's. Now Shadow is 9 years old, and has also produced offspring by Tingana, the male with whom Karula is mating now. And Karula hasn't been this far to the west, or hadn't spent any extended periods this far to the west for some time. And it's quite interesting that she's come this far west. I'm sure it's purely to seek out the attentions of a male leopard. She was mating a little while back, and I think it's quite interesting that she's taken up again with Tingana, because we thought she may be pregnant and already and perhaps had already given birth. That doesn't appear to be the case. She does have what could be described as a slightly sagging belly, and so it's quite difficult to tell when she's pregnant. And I know she's a particular favorite of our marvelous internet audience, and so please don't take it amiss when I say she has a slightly saggy belly. I keep looking behind us because there's a long road behind us, and it's just interesting to see if anything pops onto it behind us. We've also been following tracks of the wild dogs. Sorry, I'm just going to look with my binoculars. Something has popped out onto the road. Let me have a quick look. It may be a bush. It is indeed a bush.
Well, as I said, lots of things to be read in the morning, looked at in the morning. James is giving you a little bit of background about some of the leopard as well. And it's important to understand that, because that might soon be the sort of family tree information for whatever new cubs might be in the pipeline. Karula been mating with Tingana, and he most likely will be the father of the next generation of Karula's cubs. She's had incredibly good runs of successfully raising cubs. Well, first many litters, and then the last year or so she struggled to actually have cubs, mainly because of hyenas killing some of them. So it's the first time that she lost cubs on that sort of level. So she might have a brand new set. And it's really boring the way I'm explaining that. I apologize. I am thinking three different things, but in short, what I was actually really just the core of what I was thinking about there is that it's so exciting to know that Karula is mating again, and that if she's not pregnant already, which something's playing in the back of my mind, but I might talk about that later, about that possibility. But if she's not pregnant at all, and she's going to be mating now for a few days, she might well be pregnant after this, and that means 3 months from now, give or take a few days, we'll have new Karula cubs somewhere. That's obviously very exciting. I would love to get to know those cubs again. Hello Barbara, good morning. Barbara's asking whether Tingana, this is the male that was mating with Karula yesterday, if he could be Shadow's father. No, almost certainly not, Barbara. Good question. But keep in mind Shadow and Tandi, her sister, and guys, you must excuse me, I'm a bit rusty with the sort of detailed information, but they are 2006 years old now, going on 7, they're about 6.5, 7 years old. Barbara, and I know that because I knew those guys. Yes, older, thank you. I was going to say, I was here at that time when they were youngsters, and that was 2007, and they were already about a year old, so yeah, almost 9 years. And back then, most likely their father was a big male called Mafufunyan, massive male leopard, and then he was displaced by Mvula, which means rain. Mafufunyan, his name by the way means sort of difficult. He was a little bit difficult in the beginning, but he relaxed quite quickly. So Shadow and Tandi, which we used to also call Tingana, funny enough, maybe that's where the confusion comes from, Barbara. Shadow used to be called Tingana way back in the day, but they would have been fathered by Mafufunyan. Djuma and his brother Quarantine fathered by Mvula, and Mystery A and Mystery B cubs, hopefully that'll be in about 3.5 months, might well be fathered by Tingana. So she's got a nice sort of changeover of male genetics as well, if you know what I mean. Now where James was is not far from where we are, only about half a kilometer that way on one of the main roads. So we're just checking if any tracks maybe came through this side. It's not that likely, mainly because they were where we are now yesterday, and where James had the tracks that moved further west. Now it's not that likely that they come back here again, although it's not impossible. Also, there's been wild dog tracks around, and wild dogs cover so much ground, you could have the tracks there and find them here sort of a few minutes later. They move around a lot. We will be heading back towards Djuma camp area again, see if they maybe pop out there. I've still got a feeling we might find them hunting today, so who knows. Also, just a reminder, sorry, after having just teased you with what we might see, we will be off air for the next hour from 6 o'clock, which is about 10 minutes from now, a little bit before that actually, for our last morning rehearsal for the 2 TV shows tomorrow, which obviously you can join us on as well, anywhere in the world on the internet, wildsafariLive.com or wildearth.tv. Any of those 2 platforms. Guys, please join us tomorrow. It's going to be fantastic. Let your friends know as well. Shout it out on Facebook and everywhere you can. The more people on the game drive, the better. This is basically like having a private vehicle. You know, in many lodges, people book private vehicles, so they book their own guide and their own vehicle, so they can have their own personal experience. And this is sort of like that. It's like a private vehicle for each of you, but in a way, the experience just gets better the more people get on. So you can share your own private safari vehicle with people from around the world. Isn't that quite cool? Imagine like a rock star on safari. Phones up his buddy and say, come on, as many of you as you can, come jump on my private game drive vehicle. We're going to go on a private safari together. And the more of us there are, the better it gets. That's literally what's happening here. Look at this. Years ago when we were doing this, we were dreaming of having more than one vehicle out in the field, having a drone that you can see what's going on up there, you know, having to walk all the different aspects of the safari experience. So that is proof to you that the more people get on, the more of your friends that come along and share these beautiful experiences, the better it gets. So once again, you get to help us in that process over the next few days. Remember the last couple of times we were here, we chatted about it a few times every now and again. And I'd like for those of you that don't mind helping, is we spoke about getting Ellen DeGeneres on the game drive. I mean, she likes these kind of things, and we could actually have it live, which would be amazing. So again, send some pictures, send some mails, get your friends to start chatting around it. I don't know how to do it. I know that I wouldn't be able to get it done, but I know that enough of us together talking about it and saying about it and inviting, that'll be awesome. Imagine they can have all of you, especially those of you that's been with us for so long, all of you in the studio. So they have a whole wildlife, wild earth audience in the studio with Ellen on the day. Some of you that have done thousands of hours of game drives with us, and we have a live experience there together. That'll be insane. So let's keep chipping away at that one. Morning, Margaret. Good evening, actually. Just what we saw here. These are telephone poles. Electric poles. That's what takes the power to the Djuma camp. Power is important. Margaret, we don't have a lot of time to talk still. We're going to be stopping just now. But Margaret just asking, will we be looking at other things as well? For instance, during Big Cat Week. Of course, Margaret, if there's cats, we're going to look at cats. But there's always other things. Elephants, giraffe, zebra. Lots of things we're looking for. Guys, for now, I'm going to say goodbye from our side. Lovely having a little chat with you. Great being on game drive and being able to just sort of chit-chat a bit as well. I thought I saw some tracks there. But as mentioned, we will be going off air just now. But tomorrow morning will be a lot of fun. 6 to 7 Central African time for the morning safari or the sunrise safari, which also means it's our first show's prime time on or evening time on Nat Geo World. So looking forward to it. But on that note, thanks for joining us for this part of the morning. Chip away at that Ellen Stone, and we will see you not afterwards, I think. Maybe afterwards, I'm not sure actually. And but on that note, bye bye. See you later.